Go ahead and get started. My name is Ani Gellis, and I'm a program manager with Live Baltimore, and we are delighted to welcome you all this evening to our webinar on demystifying the pre-K enrollment process. So, just a little bit about Live Baltimore. If you're not familiar, we are a nonprofit organization here in Baltimore that attracts and retains Baltimore City residents. And one of the audiences that we work with is families with children. We know that families have unique situations, and so we're really trying to keep families in Baltimore City by offering resources related to schools, space, and support. So if you haven't already seen our website, this is just a little screenshot of our schools page to give you a little visual. The map in particular, if you're a visual learner, I think that's a helpful way to see all the schools that we've got here in Baltimore. And then I did also want to point out we have profiles of about 18 of our featured schools, and that's all accessible on livebaltimore.com, and we'll be sharing the link in the chat. Another resource that we'd like to make you aware of is our school options guide. It doesn't translate well with the blurred background here. I've just delivered these to library branches all across the city, so that's the best place to pick one up. But also, if you would like a hard copy, you can contact us and let us know. But it has this timeline that goes all the way from pre-K through high school to give you a sense of, what you can be doing at what time of year to keep on track with the school system. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to tonight's presenter, Betsy Decker. She has been with Baltimore City Schools for 16 years, including 7 as an educational associate in city schools' early learning programs, birth to 5. Her primary focus is working with families across the city to encourage school readiness. And I know you all are in for a treat. It's a lot of information, and we are really thankful to have Betsy here with us. All right, over to you, Betsy.
Great. Thank you, Ani. It's looking to me like I'm frozen on my screen, so if at any time I do freeze, please let me know and we'll figure that out. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and share what I've got here. Welcome everybody to the webinar tonight with Live Baltimore and Baltimore City Early Learning. We're ready to rock and enroll in pre-K this year. I've got a lot of things to tell you about, and I'm sure that you have many, many questions. I've seen lots of them pop up on social media over the last few months, and I've tried to hop in and answer where I can, but I'm grateful to have this platform where we can chat about all of the different nuances of enrollment. Before we get going and talking about what is going to happen this year, I'd love to share a little bit about what happened last year. Last year, we switched from our traditional method of enrollment where families would go to schools and at many places wait in line to submit their paper application to a centralized enrollment system. And part of the reason we did that is because part of the Blueprint for Maryland Success requires a centralized online pre-K enrollment system. And as we move toward mixed delivery, that's going to be even more important. I know there was a lot of feedback. We've gotten feedback from staff and from families and from community members about the way that the enrollment system happened last year. And of course, you've heard this and that here and there about how it went. So I wanted to share some actual data of what happened during pre-K enrollment last year. For the first time ever, families were allowed to have several choices in their enrollment. You could list up to 5 last year. And in the first round of enrollment last year, 90% of applicants matched with their very first school choice, which is a pretty incredible number considering the number of people that we had applying here. After the second round of enrollment, 99% of applicants were offered a seat at one of their top 3 choices in Baltimore City schools. So even though we had lots of bumps along the way, and there were definitely some growing pains switching to that new system last year, centralized enrollment has been enormously successful. And with the improvements that we've made this year, we're hoping it'll be an even better experience for everyone. So let me tell you a little bit about pre-K in Baltimore City. Pre-K is free. It's full day, free for all families. It includes breakfast and lunch for free. The class sizes are capped at 20 students. And our curriculum is based around play and exploration. So kids are getting a lot of that hands-on kind of experience, exploring, doing lots of projects, and certainly lots of play, developing their curiosity, and their social and emotional skills. Who can enroll? Any child who lives in Baltimore City and is 4 years old by September 1st, 2025. All right. What is the enrollment process? We have again switched it up just a little bit this year. Last year we had 2 rounds of enrollment. This year we are switching it to a single round of enrollment. That window for application is going to be from March 3rd, so Monday, until April 16th. You have 6 weeks to complete that application. It doesn't matter when during that time frame you complete the application, although we do recommend starting early in case you find that one of your documents doesn't want to upload or you have a question about something that you weren't anticipating. Start early, but you have that entire 6 weeks to go in and complete your application. Even once you've completed it, you can go back in and edit. So don't stress about the time frame. Just make sure that you're done by April 16th. You can fill out the application for any traditional school online at baltimorecityschools.org/SEMS. Now on here, the website says /page/SEMS. If you just put SEMS, that will also work. And if you go online to our city schools webpage and go to the pre-K and K registration page, you'll be able to find the link there too. This link is going to be everywhere. If you're looking for it, you will find it. So you go in, you create your account, you upload your required documents. This year, we're going to allow families to select up to 3 schools that you'd like to attend. And when you're selecting those schools, you're going to want to list them in order of preference. So the school that you'd like most, you're going to list as number 1. The school that you'd like next is number 2. And the school that you'd like next as number 3. I know that sounds kind of silly to have to call out, but we did actually get a lot of phone calls last year with people upset about getting their first choice because they listed them backwards. So please list the one that you would like most as number 1. You do not have to list your zone school as your number 1 choice. However, zone is part of the algorithm that determines who will go where. And so you have more likelihood of getting into a school if you do live in the zone or if you live close by. But you do not have to choose your zone school for pre-K. So once you have your 3 schools selected and all your documents uploaded, you can go ahead and submit your application. Now, I do just want to clarify that this is not an application to be admitted to pre-K, but rather an application for location. There's space in city schools for everybody who wants a seat in pre-K. Now, that said, there is no guarantee that you will be placed in your zone school, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But there is plenty of space in city schools for anybody who would like to have a seat. This year, the process includes a centralized way for families to indicate preference, which we talked about, listing the 1, 2, 3, a lot like other major cities do. And then, like I said before, last year, 99% of families were offered placement in their top 3 schools. Be sure again to list those in order of preference. If you are interested in applying to a charter school, the process is going to be separate for them this year. So please check with your charter to find out exactly what it is they're going to be doing. While the process itself is separate for charter schools, the dates are going to be the same. So those charter school applications for pre-K will still be open from March 3rd until April 16th. And their notification and acceptance deadlines are also the same as the traditional school's timeline. So after you've completed that application, from April 16th until mid-May, the applications will be checked for accuracy. You might get a phone call in this time, so please be on the lookout for a city schools phone call and answer it. It may just be that part of your documents were cut off, or maybe something was missing. Maybe we just need a little bit more detail about something. So please do answer those calls to help us make sure that you have the correct documents in your application. After documents are checked for accuracy and completeness, every application will be run through an algorithm to place students in schools. The algorithm prioritizes priority 1, then sibling, zone, and quadrant. On May 16th, every family who applied in the online application during that window will receive an offer for pre-K seat through SEMS, which is the online application system. Once you have that offer, you will be able to accept the offer or decline. This year, there will not be wait lists. So if you're declining an offer for a pre-K seat, you are declining an offer for a pre-K seat in city schools. If you did get an offer for a seat that you are not interested in, you can wait and try to transfer during the transfer window in the summer. But you also will only be offered seats from the selections that you made during the application process. So select schools that you'd like so that when you get an offer, it's for a school that you're interested in attending. Once you accept your offer, you will then provide your health documents, which we'll talk about again a little bit later, directly to your school according to the process that your enrollment official from the school you've been offered a seat at gives you. Once you've provided those health documents, your child will be enrolled. And yay! That means that kids will be enrolled in school by the end of May, so that throughout June, we can transfer all of them over to our student management system. And then throughout the summer, you can be engaging with your schools for summer programming and any other community events that might be happening to start to get to know other families in your school community. I did skip over a part here. We have applications checked for accuracy from April 16th to mid-May. On May 16th, you'll get the placement offer in SEMS. And then from May 16th to May 23rd, you'll go in to accept and decline. And again, there's no wait list this year. So what happens if you miss this application window? I have every confidence that every person on this call will absolutely not miss that application window. But if you happen to know somebody who for some reason did miss it, please let them know that they can reach out to the Office of Enrollment Choice and Transfer. Their hours are Monday to Wednesday from 9 to 4. If you come on Thursday and Friday, folks are busy trying to go through all of these applications. They're still dealing with choice a little bit and managing all kinds of other work that they have to do. Their public hours are Monday to Wednesday, 9 to 4. And you can speak to the pre-K enrollment specialist, Ms. Keo Monique Martin. You can also send her an email. Her email address is there. And there's the phone number for the Office of Enrollment Choice and Transfer. If you've missed this window, you can speak to somebody anytime in the spring, but there is a new enrollment window that is also the transfer window that happens in July, and that's the time that they'll be accepting new applications. The reason that window is so much later than this first window is to make sure that we have the correct count and number of seats for every school. We don't want to be accidentally over-enrolling or way under-enrolling any school. We really want to make sure that once we connect with you and find a school that's a great fit, that that's definitely where you're going to go. So if you're familiar with how the process to enroll has worked in the past prior to last year, you might be wondering where that whole priority system went. It's still here, but instead of staggering when families are allowed to enroll, we've worked that priority criteria into the algorithm that determines where students are placed for pre-K. Now everyone can begin enrolling on March 3rd, giving schools and families more time to connect and develop relationships before the current school year ends, while still ensuring that pre-K is accessible to the families who need it most. Right? So as you go into your application, how will you know which schools to list? Start first with your zoned school. That's the one that's going to be likely closest to your home. It's going to be the one where all your neighborhood kids are going, all the families that you live near. And that will be the one that'll be easiest for you to get to and have great attendance at every single day. Outside of your zone school, we have so many schools in the city, and many of them are actually pretty close to each other. So you can use the school finder on the city schools website, or it appears there's also one on the Live Baltimore website, where you can look around your neighborhood and around where you work to find other schools that might be a possibility for you and your family. As you're checking out these schools, look for pre-K open houses, look at school websites, check out their social media. And as you select them, if you're selecting something that's maybe not quite in your neighborhood, please do consider transportation, because we really need students to be there every single day. And consider school start time and end time. Those bell schedules are available on the city schools website. Somebody noted in their registration that the school scores don't seem to be an accurate representation of the quality of schools. I was so glad to see that comment, and I agree wholeheartedly. It's really hard to tell from those online school scores, what is a really great school, because there are so many factors that impact that. And so how do you really know? Really, the best way to know is to go visit. But in lieu of an in-person visit, definitely look for some online opportunities to check out schools. Lots of schools have really great websites, and they're accessible through the main city schools website. When you look up the school, you can click view school website, and they've got pictures, they've got videos, they've got all kinds of events listed. You can see the staff that works there. They also, many have great social media pages, and you can see, again, all the awesome staff who works there. You can see videos of events, you can see flyers for upcoming things, and community members are always invited to come to school events, as long as they're not called out for specific grade levels. Some schools are going to be hosting pre-K focused open houses. That's something that we're really encouraging from the Office of Early Learning this year. So check those out if you see one coming up. And then also check out the school features on the City Schools main social media pages and on the City Schools Early Learning social media, which is called Great Futures Start Early. And I'll put that tag at the end of the presentation so you can see it. I know that many of you know about those pages already because many of you have already sent me questions through them. When you do send questions to those pages, it's me who answers them. So here's the face behind the screen. I'm always happy to hear your questions. And as you know, I may not know the answer right away, but I'm always happy to try to figure out whatever it is we need to do so that you all can have a great experience enrolling. As you're looking at all of these schools and all of the different factors that impact what make them a great school for everyone, really truly think about what kinds of things are important to you in your child's education, because what's important to you may or may not align with what's important to each school community. For example, I have a child enrolled in pre-K this year. One of the things that's really important to me and to my family is that her bilingualism be considered in her classroom. And so she's enrolled in a program where there are lots of Spanish speakers and they're learning a little bit about reading and writing in Spanish. So that's something that's really important to me. But if that's not at the top of the list for you, then that's not a school that you would choose. But if you're, for example, really interested in your student pursuing the arts or pursuing STEAM, or if that's just an area of interest for them that you'd like to really bolster, there are schools that have those focuses too. Now, those focuses are obviously less at the pre-K level because every child should be involved in every area of education at that age, but there's definitely emphasis across entire schools for some of those things. So look for those as well as you're looking at schools. So finding the school that's near you. Baltimore City Schools webpage has a school finder, and it has all these cool dots all over a map, really similar to the one that's on the Live Baltimore page. I am going to quickly pull that up so we can see how it works. Share. There we go. So when you navigate to the City Schools page, baltimorecityschools.org, you can click on schools. It's right here at the top underneath where it says Baltimore City Public Schools. You click on this orange reddish button and it's going to pull up the schools page. Right here in what looks like a search bar, you can find a specific school if you know the name or the school number already and you just want to look up something about them. But if you go down just a little bit right here and click on this blue highlighted underlined link, that goes to the school profiles page, which is the school finder. You'll get this splash here. Go over here to this line and type in your address. It will find the school closest to you and show you your zone. So this is the address I typed in. This is our main office, 200 East North Avenue. The school closest to that is Dallas F. Nicholas Elementary School. They have quite a few pre-K classrooms there. Excellent school. And if that one, for whatever reason, is full or not the one that you want to pick, you can also see all of the schools that are around it. So Margaret Brent is not far away. Cecil, we see Mount Royal is right there. Johnston Square is not too far. Then as you zoom out, you can see even more. It'll tell you what quadrant of the city it's in. It tells you what middle and high schools it's connected to. Some of them are elementary middle schools, so you'll see that showing up there. From there, you can click on the name of the school, and that will bring you to the school's page through the main website. And then you can check out the school's individual website right here. You can learn a little bit about the data profile of the school, the academics, enrichment, and support. You can see it on a map. You can get their state report card and their performance plan. You can see who the school leader is and get the phone number. You can also tell there if it's a uniform school and what the uniform is. There's a mission statement for every school right there. So this is a really great resource to just learn the basics about every school. And then you can go to their own website to dive in a little bit deeper. Let's go back to this. Okay. So when you do go online to the SEMS portal to apply for pre-K, there's a bunch of documentation that you'll need. Some you need right away for the application itself, and then some will come later when you go to enroll at the school level. When you're completing the application online, you're going to need to upload proof of student identity and age, that's like a birth certificate or other government issued document. You will need proof of parent or guardian identity, that's photo ID of the adult enrolling the child. One of the things that we see happen a lot is that only one parent is listed on the birth certificate. And so if you're in that case, just make sure that either that is the parent enrolling the child or that there is another guardianship document for anybody else who might be coming up to enroll your child in school. So you have proof of student identity and age, proof of parent and guardian identity. The next thing you need is 2 proofs of address. These need to be recent within the last 60 days. There are a whole lot of things that count as a proof of address: utility bill, deed or title, rental agreement, tax bill, your employer pay stub. There's a whole lot more options also listed on the city schools website. One thing that does not count is your cell phone bill. So pick a different bill. When you're uploading when you're uploading those documents or photos of those documents, please make sure that you're uploading the document itself and not a picture of the envelope it came in. The last thing that you'll need for the application is proof of income. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about why that's the case in just a second. Proof of income is 3 consecutive pay stubs, an income tax return, proof of unemployment, approval of any kind of other income like WIC, medical assistance, SNAP, temporary cash assistance, any kind of funds that you have coming in. Upload proof of those things or acceptance letters for any of those programs, and that'll be your proof of income. All of those need to be within the last 30 days, except if you have 3 pay stubs that extend beyond that, then obviously that oldest one still counts as well. So those are the things that you need for the application that's online. Once you've been given an offer and accepted that offer, you will get a letter through SEMS that tells you what to do next and what documents that you'll need. Those documents are your health-related documents. So it's going to be your immunizations, your child's last physical, your lead test certificate. And then if your child has an IEP or IFSP, and then if you have any custody or guardianship paperwork that you need, that all of those things will go directly to the school, and that will complete your enrollment. Okay. I did actually want to go back just for a second to, oopsie, this one. As we're talking about looking around for schools, I did want to also highlight that we this year are moving toward a mixed delivery system, which if you're familiar with the Blueprint for Maryland Success at all, you've probably seen a little bit of, but if you're not, because it's an enormous document, mixed delivery is that we are working closely with private partners throughout the city to provide mixed pre-K systems and early childhood systems and supports for all children in Baltimore City. So some private providers have been able to apply and now hold some public seats in their centers. So Head Start has some, they have actually for quite a long time had some pre-K seats that are funded the same way that city schools pre-K seats are. And now many childcare providers also have them. Some people are probably familiar with like World of Friends. They've had one. Kennedy Krieger has had one for a long time. There's a few other centers that you probably would recognize the name, but we are up to, I think, like 15 of them now. And those centers are allowed to serve 4-year-olds in the same way that city schools serves 4-year-olds, but they also have full day 3-year-old programs that if you qualify as priority 1 or making up to 360% of the federal poverty level, you also qualify for those programs. So if you have a kiddo who's not quite age eligible for pre-K, those are also an option for you. And if you're looking at wraparound services and extended day care, those also might be options that you want to look into. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some of those options posted on the City Schools website, and I know that Live Baltimore will have them too. The fund will also have them, and several of our other partners will also have them. So if that's another option that you want to look into, those will be available to you. Their application timelines are a little bit longer and extend through the summer. So those aren't, if that's something that you're looking into, it's not something that you need to know right this minute, but I did want to make you aware that those are options that we have. Okay. Got all those documents. These documents also will be the same if you're applying to the private providers, because all of this information is stuff that's collected by the state. So it's required regardless where you go, as long as it's a public seat. Okay. So now you're applying for pre-K, but you're looking around and thinking, my child is ready for kindergarten. According to state law, children have to be 5 years old by September 1st to enroll in kindergarten, but there is a small window of exception for children whose birthdays fall between September 2nd and October 15th. To enroll in kindergarten early, a child's birthday does have to fall between those dates, and they have to demonstrate academic readiness through a standardized assessment. That assessment is tricky. And the reason that it is tricky is because we want students to arrive in kindergarten ready to thrive there and love school and learn so much. And we do not want them to struggle. I don't know what kind of kindergarten you went to, but mine was a half day and it had a nap and a snack. And that is not what kindergarten looks like now. It's incredibly rigorous. And really, we want our kids to remain in these like play-based environments for as long as possible. If your child really is ready, and sometimes they are, then they're more than welcome to take that assessment and be placed in kindergarten. If this is something that you plan to do for your child, please, 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 please also apply for a pre-K seat. The window of application for early admission to kindergarten is the same as the pre-K application window, March 3rd to April 16th. So when you complete that early admission application, please also complete the pre-K application. This way, if your child does not score high enough on that assessment, they have a pre-K seat. The application is on the City Schools website, along with all of the other registration information. And we'll put the link somewhere for you to get it. But if you just go to the City Schools webpage and look for pre-K and kindergarten registration, it'll be up there. Applicants will be contacted with a test date after the application is received. And then again, we strongly recommend that you enroll in pre-K. Those assessments will happen at the end of June for families who qualify for it. There's a very small window in which we can complete those assessments. So once you receive an assessment date, they cannot be rescheduled. If this is something you're planning to do, make sure that you're available in that last week of June after school ends. Students who score high enough on that test will be notified that they're eligible for kindergarten in the month of July and then able to enroll thereafter. What happens if your child turns 4 after September 1st? Because you have to be 4 by September 1st to enroll in pre-K, according to state law. Children with birthdays between September 2nd and September 30th, so just the month of September, can apply to enter pre-K with a waiver early if that family qualifies as priority 1, because this is an intervention year, and that child demonstrates an educational need that warrants an extra year in pre-K. Now, this is a little bit different from how the pre-K waiver has been used in the past, but reviewing our board documents and the state recommendations, this is where we've landed as an appropriate use for that pre-K waiver. I'm just going to say that again and try to make it very clear that to qualify for the pre-K waiver, children have to have a birthday between September 2nd and September 30th. They have to qualify as priority 1, and the child has to demonstrate an educational need that warrants an extra year in pre-K. That means that kids who come in to pre-K using the pre-K waiver will be committing to 2 years in pre-K. Those students will not be eligible for early admission to kindergarten next year because they are saying they have an educational need that warrants an extra year in pre-K. If your child is enrolled in pre-K this year using the waiver, we're not pulling the rug out from under you. Those children can apply for early admission to kindergarten. That's what you signed up for. Moving forward, children who come in with the waiver will be spending 2 years in pre-K. Now, if you have a child who you believe is ready for pre-K, their birthday falls in this range, and you do not want them doing 2 years of pre-K because it's not an educational need for an extra year, but that you feel that they're advanced, what we recommend that you do is sign up with one of those private providers I referenced earlier for a year of pre-K 3. Their 3s and 4s are going to be really closely aligned, and your child will get a super robust year of pre-K. After that year of 3-year-old pre-K, then your child can apply for early admission to kindergarten if they fall within that birthday window. Okay. All right, now let's take a look. Let me take a break right here for a second. Ani, do we have any questions that we feel we want to answer right now, or do we want to continue holding off until the end?
Yeah, there was one, just a real quick one. What is a quadrant? You mentioned that briefly. Could you just describe what
I
that means?
did. I did mention a quadrant. Okay, so you know where you live, it's your house, and then you have the zone, which is the area directly around your school. The quadrant is like if you were to split the city in four. So we have, it's going to be backwards no matter where I put it. We'll have the northeast, the southeast, the northwest, and the southwest. Those are the quadrants. However they fall, I don't know. These.
Hmm. Yeah, excellent. All right. And then there's a whole bunch of other questions more about documentation and stuff, but I think maybe we should do our next section and then we will go back to all these questions.
That sounds great. Okay, so the system that you use to apply for City Schools Pre-K is called SEMS, the Student Enrollment Management System, and you will go into that through the parent portal. This is what the beginning of the parent portal looks like. You will access this page by going to baltimorecitysschools.org/SEMS, SEMS. When you first visit the page, you will need to create an account by clicking the link at clicking on the link on the home page where it says create an account. If you enrolled a child last year or if you participated in middle or high school choice, you'll just sign in. If you've forgotten your password or it feels that you're otherwise locked out, just click on forgot password like you would on any other website that you have an account for. But if you're new to SEMS, you'll create an account. Just a side note that if you happen to be a City Schools employee, you cannot use your work email address here. Just because of how it links to Infinite Campus later on, you have to use a personal email address. Also, if you are a family who has a child enrolled and one person has done all of the enrolling so far, continue to use that account because if you set up a second one, it's going to create a second household and then they're hard to combine and it's hard to link siblings. So just continue using that one account if possible. If not, then we will work with you to connect those households. Okay. When creating an account, the parent or guardian will need to provide their demographic information and contact information to register with SEMS. That's creating your parent account. And once you've entered their demographic and contact information, you'll receive a verification email to complete the registration process. Just like any other, online system, if you don't get that email within I don't know, soon a couple hours, please check your junk, your spam, your trash, all of those before reaching out about not being able to get that confirmation email. If you do need to reach out for support around the system itself, there is a technical support email that I'll provide to you a little bit later. And I'll also have that available if you shoot me a message on any of the social media. That's where they will be able to help you with this technical support. Calling enrollment choice and transfer for website problems, we can't really do anything about those things because they're a system problem, not a application problem. So if this is where you're getting stuck, you're going to email that support email, which I will give you in a little bit. But hopefully we've pretty much gotten the system shaken out and we won't have any issues there. Okay. After you've verified your email address, you'll be prompted to create a password. Just like everywhere else, your password has to have 8 characters, a special character, an uppercase character, and a number, and any other picture, hieroglyphics or something. Once you are in, you are going to add your student. If a parent does not have a student currently enrolled, you're going to add a child by clicking the Add a Child button on your account. If you do currently have a student enrolled in City Schools, you're going to first go to the Link My Children account button at the top of the account, right up here. Okay. You'll receive this prompt to link your students. Click Start, follow all of the prompts there. You're going to search using your own name, date of birth, and zip code. You'll follow all the prompts to link your student. If they can't find your household, you can go in and enter your student's ID number, which you can find on their report card or through their school. If you're still unable to link your child's sibling, you're going to email that support email, which is BCPS, like Baltimore City Public Schools, at true, True, VGD, Vanguard, VGD.com. So BCPS BCPS at truevgd.com. And I'll make sure I have that email available for you later if you didn't catch it right now. Again, if it's a technical issue, we can't fix it at city schools, but the algorithm considers sibling enrollment, so we want to be sure that children are linked. And adding a child separately, again, creates a new household in our internal system, so we want to add to existing households where possible. The Vanguard IT support is super helpful, and they get it straightened out for you right away. That email address is monitored by a single person, who I'm pretty sure is just sitting there waiting for your emails. So when you email that email address, he'll get back to you really quickly, and he is a super helpful person. Once the parent is successful in linking their students, a link will appear next to the student's name, and you can apply for pre-K or kindergarten. That takes you to the application. You'll complete the application, first demographic information. A lot of it will be pulled from an existing account if you already have it. If not, it'll be pulled from the information that you filled out when you made your parent account. Just go through and review, make sure everything is accurate. It'll ask you to review your residency. If you already have a child who's enrolled in city schools and you had an account in SEMS and you were able to link your child, doing this step and verifying your information will make it so that you do not have to upload any residency information separately. If your information was not already verified in SEMS, then you will have to upload that proof of residency that we talked about earlier. The next step is the fun part. This is where you get to pick your schools. You'll be able to select up to 3 schools in order of preference, add the school that you want most to the number 1 slot, the next school to number 2, and the third one to number 3. While we recognize that there are definitely schools that you are interested in, like your zone school or the school where your child's sibling attends, we really recommend that you select 3 schools, but at least 2. We have many pre-K classrooms. There are over 4,000 pre-K spots available in the city, but each pre-K classroom can only take 20 kids, and every school only has so much space available in it for pre-K classrooms. So if 500 people apply to a school that only has 1 pre-K classroom, 480 of those people are not getting a spot at that school. And that doesn't matter if there's a sibling or if there's priority or if you're in zone. It's simply a numbers game. So please do list several schools so that you have the best chance of getting a pre-K spot. Nobody is guaranteed a spot in their zone school for pre-K because of that cap. We do have enough space for everybody to have a spot in a school, but it may or may not be your zone school or one of the ones that you list at the beginning. We will work with you. You're very likely to match with one of those top 3 schools. Like I said, 99% of people matched last year. But in the case that you don't, we will work with you to find an option that works for you, whether it's with our city schools pre-K or with one of our private providers. One of the things that we have made an improvement on this year, you can't see yet on the screen because this is still a screenshot from last year's application, but next to each school's name, you're going to be able to see how many classrooms that school has. So if you're applying to 3 schools that all have 1 classroom, that's only 60 available seats. But if you're applying to a school that has 1 classroom and then a school that has 5 classrooms and then a school that has 2 classrooms, then that's 160 available seats. So you have a lot higher chance of getting a seat at one of those schools if you're selecting schools that have more spots. Of course, you also have to think about your commute and the start time and all of that, whether there's siblings enrolled and lots of other factors. But if you can just kind of diversify your options, then you do have a better chance of getting a pre-K spot in a school that you selected yourself. Once you have submitted all of your information, uploaded your documents, and made your selections for schools, you'll have an opportunity to review the required information before hitting the submit button and completing the application. Once the application's been submitted, it'll take you back to that home page where you can see the edit, delete, or print receipt buttons. You probably don't need that delete button, but you may need the edit button. If something changes, you maybe find out about a school you didn't know about before and you want to add that to your 3, or a number of other things maybe you moved. Anytime during that 6-week application window from March 3rd to April 16th, you can go in and edit your application. On May 16th, offer day, you'll be able to go in and see that what schools you've been given an offer for. When you click on that offer button or that offer word, it'll pull up your school offer, which will be a letter telling you which school you've been offered a seat at for pre-K and what the next steps are. Last year, we did have there was a really small button. Oh, you can see it right there. That says print offer. And because the application was entirely online, a lot of people didn't push that button, but that button actually brought up the PDF that told you what the next steps were. I was one of the people who did not know to push that button for my own pre-K student. So if you made that mistake, me too. This year, it's going to pull up that letter as soon as you push the word offer so that you'll be able to see all of the next steps. It's going to be a lot clearer this year. So thank you everybody who gave feedback on that last year. You have from May 16th until May 23rd to either accept or decline that offer. Accepting that offer means you get to move forward with all the steps outlined in the offer letter. Declining the offer means you're declining a seat altogether. Again, you would only be offered a seat from a school that you chose in the first place. So hopefully it's a school that you're excited about attending. But if for whatever reason you decide that that's not a school that you're interested in attending, but you would still like a seat in city schools, you would accept that offer and then use the transfer window during the summer to apply to a different school. You are always welcome to attend any school that has space for pre-K in Baltimore City. You'll just need to check through the Office of Enrollment Choice and Transfer to see which schools those are. If no action is taken on your accept or decline period, the offer will be automatically accepted. If you're a person who is applying both to traditional schools through the SEM system and a charter school or multiple charter schools this year, if you're offered a seat at a charter school and that's what you decide to accept for this year, please come in and decline your offer for a traditional school. This helps us know who's showing up. It helps us know how to group students in households and Infinite Campus, which is our student management system. Once everybody has accepted their offers, we don't want to have a duplicate of your student in the system. It makes things very confusing for everybody, you included. And then declining that offer also frees up a space so that when somebody wants to transfer or somebody comes in later, there is a space available at that school and it's not being taken up by somebody who is actually attending school somewhere else. So mostly come in and accept, but if there's a reason that you have to decline, please make sure that you do come in and do that. Okay, that is the end of my information and the SEMS portal. And down here at the bottom of this screen, you can see the social media tags, Great Future Start Early on Instagram and Baltimore City Early Learning on Facebook. Anytime you have a question about any of this, the process, the curriculum, any of that stuff, please feel free to shoot me a message there. Again, it's going to be me who answers you. I don't have all of the answers for sure, but I'm happy to help you find out. And anybody who's ever communicated with me through there before definitely knows that's the case. I answer those all the time, even probably when I shouldn't be at 10 o'clock at night. So here I am, ready for you. All right, what kind of questions do we have?
Wow. Well, thank you, Betsy, for all of that information. And we do have a lot of questions. So I'm gonna hopefully group them together a little bit, but one I wanted to start with is, can you talk about what supports there are for folks who maybe don't have internet access at home or tech, or maybe need some language help, any kind of supports that they can access?
So we have a lot of supports available. Even though the system is available online, all of the schools have access to it. And if you come to a neighborhood school, the enrollment officials at those schools have been instructed to support families through the application. They're not going to do it for you, but you can come to the school, ask to make an appointment because it's kind of a long process, and not, not crazy long, but it's not 5 minutes. Bring pictures of your documents so that you're ready to go, or the physical documents themselves, and the enrollment official can help you scan and make copies of them so that you can upload them to the system. When you get there, many schools are going to have a computer or a tablet available for you to do that application. If you can do it at home, that's a lot easier because there's a lot going on at schools, especially in the spring. But if you need that assistance, please do go to a school and ask for it. There's multilingual support at all schools. Every single school has access to a system called AXI. That's translation services for like every single language that you can imagine. It's going to take a little bit longer. If it's possible, please make an appointment, let anybody that you know who might need those translation services know to please let a school know they're coming so somebody can be prepared to sit with them and do this translation. But they can call into that system, sit there with the family, go through the application, and have it translated so that the family can fill it out and somebody will be there to support them. In extreme circumstances, if the school is having trouble supporting a family through the application or translation services is just not working out, they can come to the district office. We do have a multilingual enrollment and school support office, MESC. And you can visit there. That office does get crowded because there are a lot of people coming to it. So just be strategic about the time that you are willing to spend when you come there. But we are happy to support you in any way that we can. Please just reach out if you have questions, or if you have questions on behalf of somebody else, we're happy to answer those too.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
All right. And then there's a couple that are repeats here. So one would be about, can you review the charter situation? Like, can they rank charters in that portal, or is that a completely separate process? And the timelines,
Yes.
how those match up.
Yes. So last year we did try to kind of merge the charter process with the traditional schools process, which we still hope to be able to do someday. But for right now, the nuances of the charter system are just a little bit too much to fit into the system as we're building out a new system for all traditional schools. So for right now, these processes have been separated. In order to make it easier for families to remember dates, to apply, and to accept, the dates for traditional schools and charter schools are going to be the same. You're going to apply between March 3rd and April 16th. You'll get an offer on May 16th, and you'll have to accept or decline by May 23rd. I just spoke to all of the charter enrollment officials yesterday and today, so they all know this information. However, each charter does get to kind of decide how it is that they're going to move forward with their enrollment process. Because they have that lottery, you're going to have to check in with those schools to see what they want you to do. Some may have you filling out a paper application. Some may have you going into our old online enrollment system through Infinite Campus to fill out an application there. Please just check to see what it is that they would like you to do. I'm sorry that that's separate. It just is what it is for this year. When you're doing a charter school application, if you'd like to have a traditional school kind of like backup, please also come in and apply through SEMS. The charter schools will not be listed on SEMS at all. So if you're looking for a charter school on there, it's not there. Go to the charter school and ask them what to do. Timeline is the same. Um, just while it's in my brain,
Mhm.
all of the traditional schools are listed in SEMS, but some of them might be listed a little bit differently from how you're expecting them to be. Please make sure that when you're looking for your school, you know the complete name of the school. One that got people really hung up last year was the historical Samuel Coleridge Taylor Elementary Middle School, because it is such a long name and because people often just call it Samuel Coleridge. So we had a whole bunch of people calling the enrollment office looking for Samuel Coleridge, saying they couldn't find it. It was because it was under the historic Samuel Coleridge Taylor, blah, 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 blah. So please just make sure that you know the full name of your school and are looking for the whole thing when you go through that system.
Great.
Mm,
Excellent.
yep.
All right. Another popular topic is aftercare, or before and after care. Can you touch upon that a little bit?
That is a popular topic. And I understand why. Having my own child is a part of this as well. We know school hours don't cover the entire working day, and this is definitely a struggle for every single parent. Unfortunately, because neighborhoods are so different, communities are so different, and the needs around each one are so different. After and before care are not a centralized process. And really probably can't be. However, individual schools should be working toward providing these kinds of services or making them available toward families, either by having something in-house or by having a partnership with a private provider to do that either before or after school. Some have transportation, some don't. Some will have somebody come pick the kids up, walking. Just check in with the schools where you are interested. I will say that a lot of the Judy Center schools have aftercare that's available like very easily. So those are definitely places that you want to check out. But otherwise, it really is school based, and you're going to just have to check in there.
Great. And I know there was one question, what if they don't offer aftercare for pre-K? Or
It's a struggle.
okay. All right. Yep, yep.
Yep.
All right. Well, I know we've got 9 minutes left and lots more questions. So
Yeah.
another question is about kindergarten.
Mhm.
So one would be how to enroll in kindergarten. Do you still list 3 schools in the kindergarten application? And also, if you have switched or you want to switch schools for kindergarten, do you need to re-enroll?
Okay, so we'll start with that first question. If you are currently enrolled in a pre-K in city schools and you want to stay, you do not have to re-enroll. If you want to move, you have two choices. You can either complete this application again during the same pre-K window and take care of that now, or you can wait until the transfer window in the summer and you'll be able to transfer. Transferring you will always be able to go back to your zone school unless they have some kind of extenuating circumstance, but you'll always be able to go back to your zone school for a compulsory grade like kindergarten. Um, but if you are looking at a school that is not your zone school, it is up to like space and availability, whether they will offer a kindergarten spot. But if you are currently enrolled in a pre-K, you're just going to roll over to the next grade level at your school. No need to reapply. There's another, process. The process for enrolling in kindergarten, if you are not already enrolled, is exactly the same as pre-K. The only thing that's different is you don't need to provide income documentation because kindergarten is funded separately and differently from how pre-K is.
Great.
Mhm.
All right. Now a couple of other ones. One is what if you're in the process of getting an IEP, but you're not going to have one before the deadline?
When you are, do you mean during the application deadline, I assume? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
So you do not technically know that you have an IEP yet. It's going to depend on kind of how far along you are in the process. If you're right at the beginning, then in that process, you are going to say that your child does not have a current IEP. If you're, you've already done assessments, you've seen the results and all of that, talk to your school and see what they say about putting on the application before you submit it. Uh,
Mhm.
it's a legal document, so it's hard to say just, yeah, check off the box. But
Mhm.
I do understand that that's a circumstance. Talk to your school and see what they say about availability for students with IEPs.
Great. All right. Now 3 income questions.
Mhm.
One, what if there's no proof of income? You don't have that. Another, I'm just going to give them all to you.
Mhm.
The second question is, do you need it for 1 or 2 parents?
Mm.
And the third question is, if you don't have your 2024 tax returns ready, can you provide last year's?
It does have to be most recent tax return. I'm not sure because the timeline is so much earlier this year, if that would mean last year's. Go ahead and upload it. If it's a problem, the enrollment office will reach out to you to provide different documentation. Um, it is household income. So yes, if there's 2 parents who are making money in that household, then yep, everybody's income. And then if you have no income, so this is kind of a tricky question because you probably have some income, and that's not like a judgment thing. Like if you are living somewhere, if you are eating something, if you are transporting something, you have some kind of income. It might not be a paycheck, but things like WIC count as income. SNAP, medical assistance, any of that counts as income. So any of those acceptance letters are things that you can upload. If you're working for cash, you can have an employer write and notarize a letter saying that you're employed and they pay you and this is what your pay is. If you truly absolutely have no documentation of income or no income at all, then you can come visit the enrollment office and they have kind of not a workaround. They have something that they can do for you. It's really very few circumstances in which there's actually no income uh, documentation. But if that truly is the case for you, then definitely reach out to the enrollment office and they can help you with that.
Great. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Yep,
All right. Two more IEP questions before we move on to some other things.
sure.
One, would an IEP transfer from Baltimore County schools to the city? And another is, does the IFSP count if the child doesn't have an IEP yet?
Yes and yes. As you are doing your end of year meetings for your IEP, so your annual meetings, when you are with Baltimore County, ask them about starting to do that transition process from county schools to city schools. And then IFSP, same thing. You'll probably be doing a transition meeting this summer because once kids turn 3, they typically transition either to an extended IFSP or an IEP. And then after that extension, they do transfer to an IEP. So when you're having those transition meetings this summer, please talk about that. But yes, both of those, an IEP and an IFSP, no matter where they come from, they in fact could be out of state, do count transfer. Mm. Yeah.
Great, great. All right, two questions about the algorithm and preference. Do employees of city schools have, is that a preference category? And where does sibling preference fall?
So the algorithm considers first priority one and then sibling, zone, and quadrant. Um, Staff members do fall in there. If you are a city school staff member, when you're filling out that application, when you get to the very end, you're going to check off a box that says that you're a city schools employee, and then you'll need to go in to complete another form in there. But that does give you a bit more preference within the algorithm.
Great. Could you talk a little bit about pre-K 3?
Pre-K 3. Well, there's a couple different things that can mean. Within city schools, we do have a half-day 3-year-old program. It is actually a special education program that enrolls typical peers as language and behavior models for our kiddos. My daughter went to it. It's half day. It's awesome. It's so much fun. And that's at, I believe, 10 schools throughout the city. The flyer for that is actually pinned at the top of our Facebook page, and you can also find it through the special education section on the city schools website under pre-K and kindergarten. It's called Let's Grow. So that is an option if you are able to do half day 3s. I really do recommend that. It's such a lovely program, and you'll love it as much as I did. But if you are looking for a full day 3-year-old program, City Schools does not offer that within the city school system. But as I was talking about before, through our mixed delivery, which comes through the blueprint, there are free full day 3-year-old programs that are public seats offered through private providers. To be eligible for those seats, you have to follow the same priority one guidance as city schools. So you would qualify for those seats by a certain level of income or a number of other factors. I will have those those contacts available to you within the next week or two. I'll put them up on the city schools website. Live Baltimore has them, the fund has them, and then those providers are no doubt going to start advertising really soon now that our enrollment's open too. Yeah, so you can qualify for those as free full day. Some of those programs do have before and after care, so extended day services. Those are not covered under the same funding as the 6.5 hours, 180 days of pre-K 3 services. But if you qualify for free full day 3-year-olds pre-K, you can also apply for the childcare voucher, childcare scholarship, which would cover the cost of the that extended day at any of those providers as well.
Great. And two other related questions, and I know we're getting up to close on time here. Are the private providers of pre-K, basically what you just mentioned, are they vetted by the school system?
Uh,
That's a question.
Not by they're vetted. They are not vetted by the school system, so they're partners. But in order to get those 3-year-old programs, they have to complete the Maryland State Accreditation process, which is the same thing that all of our pre-K classrooms have to go through. Child cares and Head Starts also have to complete that accreditation process. Basically, it indicates that those environments are high quality early childhood environments, and to get the financial incentives and supports to offer those public programs, those providers have to go through this process. It's very rigorous. It's definitely, they're definitely quality programs.
Great. And then could you clarify the recommendation for a student that has that birthday just after the cutoff? Your, the early admission, and then the recommendations there.
Okay. Does this question clarify whether it's for pre-K or kindergarten, or would you like me to talk about both?
It says pre-K.
Okay. So if a child is not 4 years old by September 1st, they are not age eligible for pre-K. However, if their birthday falls between September 2nd and September 30th, actually, let me go back to this slide so we can, see as I'm talking. If their birthday falls between September 2nd and September 30th, they can apply for a pre-K waiver to come to pre-K for an extra year if the family qualifies as priority one and that child demonstrates an educational need that warrants an extra year in pre-K. So I feel like I'm saying this like I'm like really overemphasizing, but I don't want anybody to be confused that when you are signing up for the pre-K waiver, you're saying that your child has an educational need and would benefit from 2 years in pre-K. This is different from what it's been in the past. So I'm just trying to really emphasize that. If they come in with the pre-K waiver, they'll spend 2 years in pre-K, which is awesome. Pre-K is so much fun. And they will not be eligible to take the assessment to enter kindergarten early. So they'll spend this coming year in pre-K, and then the following year also in pre-K, and then the year after that, they'll be eligible to go to kindergarten.
And then how firm are those end dates? Like say October 15th for the kindergarten date. Is that pretty firm?
That is the date. Yep.
Great. Okay. All right. I know we are coming close on time. So for those folks who did not get their questions answered, I would encourage you to reach out to us. We're at schools@livebaltimore.com. And I know Betsy has shared a couple of emails. Betsy, do you have a slide with the emails listed, or we can send that via email afterwards?
Yeah.
All right. One other big one
Mhm.
is, can you clarify that Baltimore City pre-K is free to all families, and how that relates to the blueprint and the sliding scale question?
Yes, the sliding scale. So for right now, pre-K for 4-year-olds is for and our half-day 3-year-old programs are free for all families. We are aware that the sliding scale is coming into play both for private providers and for public schools, and that folks are being given the option to implement that. City Schools has been covering the cost of pre-K for all families for many, many years. We are only reimbursed for families who qualify as priority one. As the blueprint has kind of expanded what that priority one means, we're being reimbursed for more. So anytime that they expand that, what's happening is that City Schools is just having to cover less of the cost of what pre-K was already costing us. So at this time, we have no plans to charge for pre-K. As that blueprint stuff moves forward, there may come a point at which we don't have the choice and we have to implement it because of how it impacts private providers and other districts. But right now, we have every intention of providing a free education to every single family in Baltimore City Public Schools. This is really important to us and something that we talk about a lot. And as long as we can, we're going to be offering those free pre-K seats to all families.
Wonderful. All right. I think we're going to close that out for this evening. But again, we will be sending you information and the recording via email, and you can always reach out to us if you have questions. And we really appreciate everybody's time tonight. And thank you, Betsy, for sharing all of your insights.
Of course.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks,
everybody, for
everyone.
being here. Yep.
Good night.